This is a National Museum of Australia production. For more information, visit nma.gov.au.
Elena, thank you for coming back to the museum today to play some parts of your 2009 composition Garden of Dreams. I thought to kind of start talking about it, we might actually go back to 2008 when the museum first contacted you about this idea, about you composing something in relation to the museum. I wonder if you could just tell us about what that was like, getting a strange phone call or a strange letter to say, would you like to come to the museum?
Well, I felt very excited. You know, I remember Gabrielle called me and said, would you like to write this piece for the National Museum? I said, yes, but I really need to see the museum. I haven't been inside yet. And so I had the opportunity to come and meet, first of all, the people behind it, behind the exhibitions, and behind the collections and research, and it was fantastic. I met you then.
You did? Yes, absolutely.
And I saw lots and lots of objects and exhibits, and also got a lot of information in written form, the book about the museum. So I went away after 2 days full of impressions, you know, and then the next step was where to from here. So I started sorting out my ideas, you know, or my, not even ideas yet, you know, just impressions. And there were a few that grabbed my attention, and they were beautiful objects, you know, the ones I did not go for as well. So there were a couple I was really tempted to go for and to kind of use them as a source of my imagination. But there were specific objects that grabbed my attention. I said, yes, I can actually think up a piece of music that would go with it. Or it doesn't have to go with it. It can be just inspired by it. I think it's very important to make this distinction. I'm not describing an object. I'm actually responding to an object or to why it's there, for example, to the story of it. Anyway, so this was my trip in 2008. So I started writing the piece pretty much a week later. So that was very fresh in my mind.
So Elena, once you'd sort of seen some of the objects and been to the museum, how did you then go about developing those ideas for you?
Well, the very first one, I must say, was I was absolutely struck by the Garden of Australian Dreams. And I said immediately, I would love that to be my title for the piece. And so I talked through that with the museum people, and it was fine. And I must say, later I decided to call the piece Garden of Dreams because I'd like to include the world into this piece. You know, it's, even though it's an Australian museum, I think it's more global than that. And then, but I still love the Garden of Dreams. It's a great title. But then the objects that grabbed my attention were Love Token, and with its with the messages of love stenciled by convicts on the coins or tokens. And I just loved the idea of those. And I remember the strangest thing happened when I started writing the piece. I thought I'll start with the stenciling of this message on the metal. And I remember, I was here 2008, late in the year. I started writing it, and I remember getting a postcard, a Christmas card from the National Museum, and there was this token on the postcard. They used it, you know, there was a
choice. Same wavelength.
Yeah, I know. It was amazing. I thought that must be right then. You know, sometimes you say there is such thing as, you know, coincidence, and it just must be the right thing to do. So anyway, so I thought that was fantastic first idea. To use that as an object, and the second one was my favorite object of all, Kimberley points, and I just adored the way it was presented, like a piece of art, and that thin line where the practicality of the instruments which are functional become a piece of art, but also the way they put together on this beautiful screen. I couldn't get that out of my mind. I just thought that is the image for another movement.
And so those two collections became two movements, didn't they?
Yeah, that's out of, yes, and of course it went from there because in the end the piece became really long. It actually became 6 movements. And one of the movements I liked to use the idea of the whole building, how there was one staircase I saw with this concrete squares on it, and they're kind of lopsided, as if they're falling off. And I was told that the engineer wanted that as a special kind of statement. Anyway, it seemed like a very witty thing to do, and I just loved that idea that you just do something just to have a bit of fun, and it has something very surreal about it, and I just loved it. So I thought I'd write a piece called Industrial Blues. So it's kind of bluesy, but also quite heavy, sort of. Like that, so it's really raw.
It feels really like something stuck to the ground. I always think a very kind of solid, solid movement.
But also, it's sort of also a little bit. Occasionally, has this. It has sort of certain swift side steps, or what you call twists to the side. I just think around the corner.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Like those little bits of the building just sitting off kind of in the middle of the design.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was nice. And then there was a movement that I wrote based on Schubert Fantasy, which actually originally goes in. The Schubert Fantasy for four hands piano, and it goes approximately like this. That approximately with four hands. Yeah. And I just thought I'll write a movement that may not have to do with the history of this place and of these exhibitions, but it has a history of me and how I played this piece. And I just thought, even though it has nothing to do with the objects, I just write it anyway because it could be part of this whole process, and it becomes history in itself. I kind of look forward, and I just think eventually it will make sense. But at that point, I just really felt like doing something with this piece. I've always wanted to do that, so I thought I'll do it here. And I wrote a kind of piece based on brass instruments, playing this kind of... So it became kind of a very nice, fun piece, I think.
You can download more programs from nma.gov.au. National Museum of Australia. Discover what it means to be Australian.